Yeah, but it's been a good long ride, hasn't it? We've had some absolutely fantastic fights, along the way since we started the show. You've got to jump out and say Brett Thomas and his constant Jake and Logan Paul, comments for the whole almost 12 months of us doing this. So there's been some sure good highlights.
Thank you to all the guests that have come on as well. We've had a few of them, and we've tried to mix it up. It wasn't just about reviewing, previewing. We've tried to mix it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for all the latest fight action. Direct from Wales in the United Kingdom, 100% live, it's Big Fight Weekly with your hosts Chris Hume and Stu Palmer.
I look into the mirror and all I see is failure staring back at me.
Well, all right, Stuart, I think you left yourself out here, pal. Well, with that, there he is.
Here we go. I was letting you do the intro, mate.
No, you're back now, mate, so you can do the intro.
Okay. We are sorry, guys. I've had stuff going on at home. Chris has been waiting patiently. This is the special Big Fight Weekly Christmas special, might I add. A 2022 year in review. We're not going to break down fights too much, are we, Chris? Because we've got a lot of mentions, guys that have stood out for us in MMA and combat sports. This is Big Fight Weekly. We're back, Chris. Been on about a 5-6 month hiatus, the show, hasn't it? So it's great to be back with you, man, my co-host and my cousin. And I know you've got a lot to get your teeth through from this year, man. I know you've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fights that have shocked me. We've got in with 6 or 5 champions, and they've all lost the titles, and more or less lost to underdogs as well, which has been insane. But regardless of that, every fight has been entertaining. Maybe not so the last couple, with judging decisions of sort of dampened the fights themselves. But yeah, it's good to be back, mate. It's been a long 6 months, a long soul searching with Big Fight Weekly, but we'll get to that before the end of the show.
I really, what a year it's been, man. Extending off what you're saying here, some great results that we weren't expecting, maybe. I'll talk about Tyson Fury after, combining Wembley and the Tottenham Hotspur gate, for both events, how many fans it drew. Just amazing. Obviously, we'll get to that, but I think more currently, because it was previous weekend to this weekend, UFC 282, should I say, and there was a lot of talking points off the back of it, Chris. The judging, again, questionable judging on the night, Chris, and obviously Paddy Pimblett against Jared Gordon, and it was a tough night at the office, and a lot of people are wondering how the hell Paddy Pimblett won the fight, Chris.
It's difficult, isn't it? As well as having to watch Darren Till against Duplessis before that, and having the build up for Darren Till's return, and seeing how that sort of panned out, and you were a bit deflated by that, and then you're going into the Paddy fight thinking Paddy's on such a good run, he's beaten everyone really well, he's sold every fight, everyone's really intrigued to see where Paddy the Baddy goes. And it fell flat, didn't it? It fell flat on its ass. It wasn't the performance I was expecting. People big up Paddy. Really, they big him up much. And, I remember him in Cage Warriors, and he was, fantastic, humble guy. And it got to this fight with Jared Gordon, and I just thought he was terrible. I just think he was, he was winging punches. Winging his punches. He couldn't get his takedowns. He couldn't use his grappling. Jared Gordon, to be fair, did fantastic in that department. He stifled Paddy all the way through. But what was the most concerning? But it's not like something out of the ordinary. And we all know this situation is Paddy's chin is so far up, and Jared Gordon was repeatedly with that overhook constantly connecting to Paddy's jaw, and you just worry, going forward now, if he faces someone like Ilia Topuria, because they have their beef, and you see what Ilia Topuria did to Bryce Mitchell, an hour beforehand. it doesn't bode well for Paddy if he's going to take punches like that. Yes, and it's just frightening. And don't forget, he's in the lightweight division. You start looking up, Stuart. They're all killers up there. There is no weak link up there.
You alluded to this earlier in the year, man, when we were weekly. We were a weekly show, as the title says. You said, look how far down he is in the pecking order. And you even said, you get into the top 20, forget the top 10 for a minute. Top 20, top 15, you said there was going to be issues. And it's coming to light now. And that's no disrespect to Jared Gordon, but he's where he is in the rankings. And it was a tough night. He's
not even ranked. He's not even ranked, Jared Gordon.
You said to me off camera, you had him winning all 3 rounds, Gordon.
Yeah, I had him winning all 4 rounds. I think he attacked Paddy much better, and he was in control of the fight. His shots were landing, and they were powerful shots. Yes, Paddy did get some off, but Paddy did wing in punches. So every punch that Paddy threw, Gordon connected with a good overhook counter straight to the chin, moved, bobbed and weaved and carried on as he went. And then in the 3rd round, complete domination because he controlled him up against the cage, used that Muay Thai clinch, and Paddy couldn't really get anything off at all. And yeah, okay, everyone says, oh, well, it was a poor decision by Jared Gordon. He should have gone for it in the 3rd. But if I'm looking at the fighter, and I think everybody else who watched that fight is looking at it, is Jared Gordon, in his mind, probably thought, I've already won the fight. I don't have to do anything stupid now. It's difficult for people who are big on Paddy. I wouldn't say I'm big on Paddy, but he's British, and you want to champion him as much as possible, like we do with all our UK fighters. But it's hard when he's calling it after the fight with Joe Rogan, fight of the night, and I won two rounds out of 1, and it was an easy fight, and I'm like, it did not look like an easy fight to me. And if you're struggling against the likes of Jared Gordon, yes, you are allowed a night off per se, aren't you, in a fight where you don't look particularly fantastic in a fight. Shall
I roll the VT? Because you're saying that how he was with Rogan. I'll roll the VT quickly. It's just he's delusional. But let's go to Paddy post-fight with Joe Rogan in the octagon.
The winner, Paddy the Baddy. Paddy, that was a close one.
No, it wasn't. That wasn't close. He just consoled me in the 3rd. But no, what, Joe? Have you consulted me manager and see how much you're paying me for this interview?
Do you think you don't think it was a close fight at all?
Not at all. I won the first 2 rounds and then coasted in the 3rd. I knew I was 2 rounds up, so I didn't want to do nothing dangerous and risk losing the fight. I knew for a fact I'd won the first 2 rounds pretty easily.
Coming into this fight, did you think that this was going to be the most difficult test of your UFC career?
Yeah. Fight of the night or what? Hey! Fight of the night! One shake shine!
Well, congratulations to you, sir.
Fight of the night. Fight of the night.
Just put it into words. You're shaking your head there.
Delusional. I'm not being funny, but I'm not the only one that's watched this fight. No, I'm not a professional fighter. No, I don't claim to be, but I watched it. You've watched it, and hundreds of thousands of people have watched it, and they all come to the same conclusion. You weren't 2 rounds up to 1. You were losing all rounds. I wouldn't even say it was as close as what people think. I think Jared Gordon controlled majority of the fight. Paddy got off some good shots, but majority of them, if you watched them, were blocked by Jared Gordon. And like I say again, I'm going back to he was winging punches, and it's not smart going forward. If you were going to be this guy that's going to break into the top 10 with the likes of Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev, who isn't going to fart around with you there, is he? It's delusional to think you won that fight and you took a round off. He has alluded he was injured in that 3rd round as well in his post-fight conference. He said he was injured. That's why he took the 3rd round off, because he said he didn't want to get caught, but he wasn't really doing much because he was up against the cage. I'm just, I think when we go to the point where he says, have you paid for this interview, and the whole thing with Ariel Helwani, that's, he's made himself look like a dick there, hasn't he? Saying all those things about Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani comes back, off his phone and shows a voice note of Paddy saying, do you want to meet up? Do you want to do something together? Where Paddy's coming out and saying, well, he wouldn't pay me. We do things, Stuart. We've interviewed guys. We've interviewed fighters, past and present. Not once have I ever been told I have to pay. They've all come on willingly to share their story, and we're giving them that platform. Maybe not big platform, but we're giving them a platform. And I think that's enough because you're helping each other. And to start asking people to stop paying, I think that's ridiculous. And he needs to get his head out of his clouds or sort out Graham Boyle and say, like, you're going to push people away for all this crap.
Doesn't need to be a Conor McGregor Mark II, which is that's how he comes across. I mean, Conor was Conor. I was watching.
Conor backed it up, though, Stuart.
With Eddie Alvarez. All that with Eddie Alvarez, right? But yeah, it was charisma. It's coming off hokey and so fake. All right, I know when they do it, sometimes they are faking it slightly. And
you got to sell a fight.
It's like a poor man's Conor McGregor with the verbals in my mind, because there's only one Conor McGregor, as we've alluded to so many times on this show, man.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean? I don't think he's wanting to be Conor McGregor. I think he's using what Conor McGregor put the platform out there. But don't forget, it wasn't just Conor. Chael Sonnen started the platform altogether, if we're going back that far. But they sell fights, and that's what you do. And that's what Paddy does really well. He sells fights. We all know what Scousers are like, and we all know what, they're all the same. But, and I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way, if any Scousers are watching. But I don't agree with how you handle yourself. You can handle yourself much better than that, and hopefully he's sat back down and he's rewatched that fight, and and he comes to his own conclusion that he was wrong, and he was very lucky that the judging that night, particularly, not just on his fight, but was very, very poor.
We need to move on there as well, because obviously we had Jan Blachowicz versus Ankalaev, and that again, it was a draw, but there was no way it was a draw. I'm going to put the visual in now, Chris, just to jog our memories back, even though it was only the weekend before last. But yeah, again, Chris, I had Ankalaev winning, like many. So what did you take away with that? With it judging again, dodgy judging again.
Listen, I thought the first 2 rounds, Jan Blachowicz was fantastic. He chewed up Ankalaev's leg like there was no tomorrow, and he was doing it shin to shin, which was insane to think that someone could throw his own shin at someone else's shin and continue. But Jan Blachowicz he's a Polish machine, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's old school, and that's why everyone loves him so much. But he won the first 2 rounds, and he did compromise Ankalaev's legs. He did. But once Ankalaev started using his takedowns and grappling, didn't do much on the ground, but he did enough, I think, in the last 3 rounds to win that 3-2. Any other way, I didn't understand how that was a draw. Funny enough, Stuart, my feed dropped out just before they announced the score. Yeah,
you're joking me.
Yeah, but it's one of them, isn't it? But so when I saw the decision, I was baffled. And then you get decision from UFC straight away that Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira is going to be for the title now in Brazil in January, which is like, so what do you do with Ankalaev and Blachowicz now? Because you're leaving it hanging. You got to put them back together, haven't you? You can't leave it as a tie. I didn't see it as a tie, though. So I just mesmerized where these judges are coming from. And what are they watching? Are they listening to the crowd too much? Are they not focusing on what, the rules during a fight and how to score a fight? I think this whole thing, it's not just MMA as well. Judging in boxing isn't as great either. They think as a whole, they need to get together and start working out a better scoring system.
Absolutely. It's just crazy, man. And we've spoken about the judges so many times. I've never known it. I've never known it so bad on one pay-per-view or one event. It just, the mind boggles. And surely they've got to look into this a bit more. The higher ups within the UFC, or will it just continue? Because it's subjective and it's what they see.
Yeah, but the thing is when everyone else is seeing something completely different, and I just can't understand. I'd love to be sitting like a fly on the wall and actually looking at their papers as the fight's going on, to see what they're looking at. Because to me, a draw, it's just stupid. And things like that, people need to be pulled back in and shown this tape and gone, how have you scored this? And maybe they need an education.
It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'd just like to ask one thing, Chris. One guy into 2023 that you've got your eyes on. Normally I give you like a top 3 because of limited time and stuff like that. Just the one guy you really think is going to push on within the UFC next year. Who's going to be the guy who's Chris Hume's guy to watch?
You know what? I've thought about this, you know, and you know what I mean, I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. And I was in my ones to watch when we first started this podcast many years ago now. And he's still there. You know what I mean? Very unfortunate with the injury to Calvin Kattar in last fight. And he was impeccable in the first round. He was so fast. I think people underestimate how fast Arnold Allen can blitz someone with his striking. Not let alone he's a very good grappler and he's a strong person. But I think, people need not sleep on him. Very unfortunate he didn't get into the interim title. I know it's Emmett, isn't it, and Yair Rodriguez are going to battle that one out for the interim while Volkanovski goes on his little trip to 155. But I think Arnold Allen's not too far away, and he's shown that he can fight with the big boys in that division. I just love everything about Arnold Allen. He's just chilled and enjoy his content he puts out as well. And I just think he's someone that people need to wake up for. And I think probably people are watching him and thinking, is he got something? But I think he's one to watch. And I think the Brits are changing things now, Stuart.
Absolutely.
You're seeing things different with the Brits.
We are going to get into our world champions within UFC and PFL because I know you wanted to speak about them. But we're going to switch codes for a moment. We're going to go over to boxing, Chris, and a man who we both admire and enjoy, and it's Mr. Tyson Fury. What a year he's had. We didn't get the fight we specifically wanted. I put that on AJ not wanting it. But yeah, 94,000 at Wembley in April, then 60,000 a couple of weeks ago at Tottenham. Just combining those numbers, incredible. And it just goes to show how stratospheric he is in pop culture and sport now, Tyson Fury.
Yeah, he says and does it. That's what Tyson Fury does. And when we're talking about people who can sell fights, that man is the ultimate person that can sell a fight. He can sell snow to an Eskimo, Tyson Fury. But he's a charismatic dude that he blows the socks off you. And you watch enough stuff on Tyson Fury, you get pulled in by his story and his hard work and his determination and what he's had to get through. The only thing I'll have to put a bet on here is when I watched him with True Geordie and was quite unimpressed with how he spoke to someone. The guy is an advocate for mental health, and the people who watch True Geordie would know that he suffers with mental health issues himself. But way he degraded him and didn't like the answers where he was being pushed for the right answer, Stuart. And I think so. Some people need to push these fighters for the right answers. Why were you fighting Derek Chisora? What is the necessary need after you've beaten him already twice convincingly? And he didn't like that. But you can take that aside and thinking it's probably just one of those days where he was pissed off, and he's got a lot to deal with, building up for a fight where he has to sell the fight, and all those sort of tangibles that come into it.
When he asked him about Jake Paul, and you could just see he didn't really want to talk about it. But I get it.
Your brother's involved with that, though, isn't it?
From True Geordie, he's an investigative guy within his journalism and his podcast. So he wants to ask things. He will ask the pertinent questions. And, it's current. It was very much in the news, is in the news with Jake Paul as much as... Do you know what, though? I kind of hope he gets in there with that Andrew Tate, because I hate Andrew Tate more than I hate Jake Paul. And I never thought I'd say that. He gets on my nerves. Yeah. He gets on my tits, mate.
Yeah, I can't scroll on TikTok, Stuart, about an Andrew Tate video.
I don't want to make it about Andrew Tate, but
that's fine.
In regards to Jake Paul, I actually prefer him to Andrew Tate, so he's gone up the pecking order a little bit. But yeah, back to Tyson Fury, was saying about True Geordie and all that. It probably was just an off day, but we don't expect it from Tyson, do we? The way he was.
No, I don't think so. I was a bit put back by that because he's always gone on to True Geordie and they seem to always have quite a good connection, in regards of storytelling and, talking to one another. So I was quite surprised that was the outcome. But in some aspects, I did agree of why were you fighting Derek Chisora. I know that obviously you mentioned AJ before, and it was AJ's ball to drop. But that to me is like, you're not seeing anything different. You want to see Tyson Fury with the best, not with people he's already beaten twice and beaten convincingly. This was more like, I thought, when you watch the actual fight against Derek Chisora, legend, he comes out and does what he can. But Tyson Fury is just too good for someone like him. I just want to see better for him, because that doesn't go down as a history-making fight. Capacity-wise, yes, but as a viewer, a person who enjoys watching Tyson Fury, it's boring.
I think I've got to be fair though. He uses, I can understand people seeing it, but then he's been using his weight. He's been lying on people, hasn't he? Right? He did allow Chisora to have a go. In fairness, he was looking for that overhand right, wasn't he? But I totally get it. But then I understand why he boxes the way he does. I know it's not exactly conducive to the fan. I do. He's got his style. He'll box the way he boxes. A lot of people did say it was boring. I thought it was effective. It's not the most eye-catching of stuff, but he does what
he could have finished him any time though. He did carry Chisora in that whole fight.
And the ref was fantastic, because he wanted to pull him out sooner. And he told him at the end of the ninth. He told him, any more of this, the ref was very good. But you got to worry about Derek Chisora. All the shots he's taken, it's later life. He's got his kids, and he's been a fantastic servant to sport, and he's done very well. He has done very well, and it was a good last payday for him. But
yeah, I agree.
I just wonder going forward now. Obviously, we're going to see Usyk and Fury first to unify.
Fingers crossed.
So was this the plan all along? Are they waiting for AJ so all the belts are back? Depending on who gets through. I think Fury will beat him. I think he's going to have too much for him. But maybe this was the plan all along. The belts were all available when AJ came back into it. That's what I was thinking the other day.
It's hard for AJ. Where do you place AJ in this situation? Because you can't give him another title shot now. Obviously, he was given a golden ticket by Fury after the Usyk loss. He didn't take it, which, whatever reason that may be, maybe some point down the line, we'll find out what the true story was to that. He needs to go and get himself back here in the win column. I keep hearing like him versus Dillian White. Makes sense. They both need a win. They both need a platform to push themselves back up the, upper echelon of the division. He needs something like that. I think giving him another title shot's too much pressure straight away after two, cruel losses against Usyk. And I say cruel in the kindest way, because Usyk was too good for him. As much as AJ put up a better fight in the second fight, Usyk was just too slick, too fast, just too good. This is why the fight
could not establish the jab. AJ, he just could not.
But he was never good with the jab, though. Really,
he couldn't get the distance. But that would be your key. That's where Fury will differ, won't he? I know he's got more reach again on what AJ's got, but you'll see a difference there. All right, he's a lot better with power punching now under Sugar Hill. We've really seen power, haven't we? But I think he will utilize his reach with a jab. You'll see it
and his
Fury.
Weight. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing he uses.
And I'm not knocking Usyk. I think Usyk can cause problems for him. I really do. But I think a lot of people's favourite is Fury going into this. And it did make me laugh, Chris, after the fight when Joe Joyce came up to the ring as well. We'll have a Royal Rumble. We'll have a Royal Rumble, the three of us. What about
we
me
need more than that, don't you?
What about me and you go, Joe?
But that's another thing. Joe Joyce is right there.
Joe Joyce has had another fantastic year as well. I've got to be fair. Joe Parker, tough opponent, man, and he looked really good. Joe Parker had the world title, years back now.
Yeah,
it was a good performance, and he's a lot slower, but he's methodical. Is Joe Joyce, which we've touched upon, haven't we?
Yeah, Chris? He's also a big guy as well that uses his reach brilliantly. He uses his reach really, really well, to go along with his footwork. So he's another one that's there, and that's another fight. If Usyk can't make it, that's another fight Tyson Fury can take.
Absolutely.
But then he's a curveball here. Why can't AJ versus Joe Joyce? Why can't that happen?
It's perfect. It's perfect. I tell you as well, but I keep jumping in with different people here. Daniel Dubois is obviously WBA regular champion. Usyk's got the world, the world recognised WBA, but Dubois got a belt. Let's be fair. Usyk has to fight him as mandatory as well. Obviously, Fury and Usyk will happen first, but Daniel Dubois is in line for a bout. So depending on who wins out of Fury and Usyk, you've got Daniel Dubois in the mix. But he had a tough couple of rounds the other week, didn't he? He got put down a couple of times. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people in the mix, isn't there, Chris?
He's another one with a rocket in the right hand, though, isn't he?
He's got the power, that lad. And Shane McGuigan, they're trying to sort his defense out. You can see that, but he did get caught. But his leg, I think there was something wrong with his leg as well. There was a muscle, something had gone. So that was partly to do with it. But he got through.
Comes with time, doesn't it? Though, as we talk about Tom Aspinall, we talk about having minutes in the cage.
My days.
It's minutes in the ring, and the fighters, they learn, and good coaches will teach that into them.
Absolutely. We've got some comments, Chris. We have got some comments here.
Fire away.
Guys, please let us know some of your favourite moments from UFC, MMA, combat sports, boxing this year from 2022. Things that have stand out. We'd like to hear from you what you enjoyed. But here we are, Lewis Young up in Scotland. Hello, Lewis. Long time viewer. He's been with us from the start. Chris is Lewis.
Yes.
Hope you're well, mate. Hope the wrestling's going well. I know you've been doing some matches and stuff. Really good, mate. All the best to you. Have a nice Christmas.
Aye.
Jack Reynolds from Pro Wrestling Elite Fandom. Hey, Stu. Hello, Jack. Hey, Jack, some matches that you've enjoyed this year, man. We want some comments. How are you all doing? Lewis has asked, Chris.
Fine, Lewis. Getting over a chest infection. But yeah, I'm good, mate. Rolling into Christmas nicely, Lewis.
And Albert Barlow, Chris, if it'll let me load it up. He sent like an emoji. I can't pull it up. He's got Chris from Family Guy. Chris from Family Guy.
For God's sake. Albert, host of the Art of Partying, he told me before that's back in January. Stuart, you may see me there. You just have to click on the link when it's available. You might.
Thank you for your comments, guys. As I say, any moments that you've enjoyed from combat sports this year, please let us know. I like hearing from viewers and seeing what they've enjoyed this year. It's been a fantastic 2022 for combat sports. Right. It really has. Chris, moving on, you wanted to showcase two guys who have got world titles, who don't get enough praise for what they've done, as you said before. I'll just bring the banner up there, as you can see. And I've got some photos as well, Chris, to pop up. Now, you need to tell me the guy from PFL, what his name is. But here he is.
Brandon Langerthorn. Stuart, this guy, I don't know if you remember, was an Ultimate Fighter, UK versus Australia, many, many years ago. Didn't win it, didn't get into the final. He fought Mike Williamson in the finale. He lost that fight, I think, on points. Disappeared for a while. Went back to the UK circuit. Worked his way up, Stuart. Got himself on Dana's Contender Series. Won that fight. But Dana didn't like how he ended the third round because he used his grappling and played it safe, which, some fighters do. And I think that, he warranted that because he worked so hard to get where he was. Dana White didn't want to pick him, shoved him away. He goes signs with PFL. He enters this 1 million tournament, Stuart, to win the title against Bubba Jenkins, who he fought on the night, and absolutely destroyed Bubba Jenkins. Bubba Jenkins has been in Bellator. He's been around, some tough guys back in the day as Bubba Jenkins, but Brendan took him on, destroyed him. I have to say, destroyed him. Strikes and knees. And he is now the third champion to come from the UK. Well, actually, the fourth if we're talking Lee McGeary as well. But slowly but surely, Stuart, Brits are going into organisations in America and winning titles, which I probably wouldn't have fathomed that would ever happen many years ago when we just saw them getting taken down and stuck on the canvas for, 15, 20 minutes long and being, distraught because our favourite, like say Dan Hardy against George St. Pierre. I know that was nothing that was going to happen out the blue for George there, but to see Brandon and then Leon Edwards come through and do things that I'm so chuffed about and so happy to see that other UK fighters back in the regional circuits over here can look and aim to be.
Absolutely fantastic. No, I'm good. It's good to hear about the PFL. Obviously, I know of it, but I haven't seen anything. But I know you're an avid person, yeah. And like you say, Channel 4, it needs to the profile needs to be raised. It's on a huge broadcaster here in the UK. And moving on, because you've got to say, I know you've alluded to him, Leon Edwards. 5th round, man. 5th round, becomes a world champion. Another UK champion in the UFC. There we go, Chris. There's the visual right there. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Talking about pulling one out of the fire. The first round, I thought he did really well. Be the first person to take Usman down, don't forget. And he dominated him on the ground in that first round. He tried to go for the rear naked, didn't work, wasn't successful. Usman then did what Usman does, is take complete charge of a fight, used his jab, used his wrestling, used his strength, used everything that Usman is very good at using. What he didn't realize is, Stuart, is this young gentleman called Leon Edwards was setting up a high kick, whether or not he was going to connect it, but he kept on popping that jab out and waiting for Usman just to, to cover up, to move. And then boom, last 60 seconds of the 5th round, cleans out. And don't forget now, this is the pound for pound best fighter in the UFC at that current point was Kamaru Usman. And he just cleans him out. And I was so overjoyed. I didn't know what this fight was going to entail for Leon. He warranted it because he was on such a long fight winning streak. And we all know what Usman was capable of doing. But to pull that one out of the bag last minute, brilliant. I had hairs on my neck. I'm so chuffed for the man. Doesn't get enough praise. You hear about Paddy Pimblett all the fucking time. But this guy, you do not hear enough about.
Yeah.
This guy,
it's crazy.
This beat Usman, and still he's not.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's just the guy is world champion. Paddy's got so far to go, and he's going to be struggling. And then, like you say, the gloss. Not to say the gloss off Leon, but it needs more. There needs to be more onus. Absolutely, I agree. Because look what he's achieved, man. Usman was beating everybody.
Yes, he was.
It did look like he was going to have it for a long, long time, like longer than he'd had it. So you just do not know, do you, Chris? Sometimes you just do not know.
Interesting stat there, Stu. But you know that Usman and Adesanya were in one fight from 2 records each in their fights. I think Usman was going to beat Anderson Silva's hold of how many times he's defended, I think, the title, or how many times he's won with the title. And I think Adesanya was pretty much on the same. And funny how they both lost their fight before getting ahead of Anderson Silva. It's like he's stopping everyone from, breaking his record. Mythically maybe, but, there's something there. Or maybe I'm just holding on to something a bit weirdly. But yeah, big for Leon Edwards. I can't wait to see, who he's up against in London. I do hear Masvidal. I'm not sure I want to see that because Masvidal, how many times does he need a title fight? And he's not even won a fight in how many years now? I know Usman's currently having hand surgery yet again because he had one before he fought Leon Edwards the second time. So it's an interesting, where we're going to go with UFC London next year. Don't forget it's a numbered card as well. So
look, I'll tell you what.
Good to see.
I tell you what, the prices are crazy, aren't they? But then, tickets, like we've said before, tickets are being in the wrong hands, man. There's just people on their phones the whole time.
Yeah.
You're there to watch it. The tickets are getting into the wrong hands.
There's the ticket outs, and don't forget, I'm out of, these robots or bots, so you want to call it, come in and take off and shed a load of tickets before anyone can get in. I almost had that first time when I was getting tickets for Blink. You know what I mean? And how difficult that was. Let alone a numbered UFC card that's coming in with Leonardo as a champion. Probably will be the main fighter of that card.
Who was your fight of the year? If I put you on the spot a little bit, because there's been some fantastic fights, but yeah, just one. I'll just let you have one because I know it's been a hell of a year. But yeah, just like off the top of your head, maybe the one that comes to mind.
I actually have a list here, Stuart.
I've screwed you.
And you're going to come in, yeah?
Because you got a list. You got a list ready for me here, and I'm only letting you have one. But maybe list a few if you want.
I'm going to give you. I'll give you my first one, and it's not a title implication. It was just a hard-earned fight, and it was a hard-earned win. And I'm going to go with Luke Rockhold. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I think against Paulo Costa. Luke Rockhold's last fight, wasn't it? We weren't to know at the time. But he was gassed. He was struggling, and just give Paulo Costa every ounce of his being in that fight. Paulo Costa, he was dominating. He cut up Rockhold and he was shoveling in body shots. But Rockhold kept on coming back. Those straight hands when he was up against the cage to try and get himself some distance and maybe, rock Paulo Costa. And he did a few times. Not everyone likes Rockhold. I know he's another one with a big mouth and has a lot to say. Rubbed off a lot of people the wrong way, hasn't he? The whole Michael Bisping thing and all that. But if that's the way you're going to go out, you go out as a warrior. And I was dead impressed with him for his final fight, and for a guy that's been around and done everything, Stuart. You have to sort of tip your hat to him.
Absolutely. And another, please.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Only for two things here.
Now we're talking, because I was thinking about this. It's up there. 100%. I was only thinking about this yesterday when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today. Sorry, I jumped in.
No, because Michael Chandler's a madman. I mean, what kind of fight Michael Chandler's going to bring to the table, and how ferociously he chased Dustin Poirier in that first round and tried to get the victory. He tried to knock him out. He tried to do what Michael Chandler does, and he put Poirier on his back foot. Poirier is just such a calm, collective guy that he took everything that Michael Chandler could throw at him and delivered it back. Almost finished Michael Chandler in the first round himself. Second round, he gets taken down by Michael Chandler. He's controlled. Michael Chandler, you could see he was blowing a gasket. You could see he put a lot of effort into that first round. And, in the second round, he obviously blocked. I think he got a takedown, didn't he? But Michael Chandler took him up too high. Dustin Poirier reversed it, gets the submission win. But, you got to look at Dustin Poirier now, Stuart. He's beaten someone from Strikeforce. He's beaten someone from Bellator. He's beaten them all now. And World Series of Fighting, where Justin Gaethje come from. So he's beaten the three circles of these competitions of their main men. And, Dustin Poirier, he's beaten them all.
Scott, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? He really has. In the more recent years as well.
Yeah, without winning an actual title. But for someone who loses it in the last fight, or the main fight, should we say, he's still got lots to come. Maybe we'll see him in McGregor. I hope not, but it's possible that could go again. Hope not though.
There's only going to be one outcome. Again, it's all about activity, isn't it? You've got to be your muscle memory and all that fighting, and it's still going to be there, isn't it? And he's just in and out. He's cocked it up for himself because he's left it too long. He's left it
filming.
Too long,
filming stuff though, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's filming.
Yeah, I understand, but it's just like, are you in it or not? Because at the moment, you get linked with everybody and it doesn't come to pass, does it?
Next year, Stu, we're apparently seeing him back. He's on the big side at the moment, is a good old McGregor.
Yeah, he is.
Very
he's
big.
On the gas.
Is
he taking anything, do you reckon? Or is it
he's not near Sada Pool at the moment, but
well, he needs to be careful when he is back in USADA.
I think in some cases, some fighters do have to be looked after because you got to look at longevity in their lives. I'm not against fighters if they have to take it to get the bones to fuse back together properly, and if, within reason, they can maybe take something that helps their body recover better. But if it's a leg break, I can sort of make a claim of an argument there. But I don't know. He's very big, isn't he? It baffles me how someone so small can go so big so quickly. It's just make you scratch that itch, doesn't it? Really.
I was reading comments after that with they put the Eddie thing up, like the presser, then into the fight night. It's well put together by the UFC as well. A lot of people are saying, like, at the end of the day, who's gonna come near what the revenue number one that he brought into the company. How we eclipse everything. I don't think anyone's ever going to do it. I honestly don't, Chris. I just think it's a special.
Yeah.
He's a special person. I could be wrong here. I could be very, very wrong. There's a lot of time, isn't there? But again, he's only 34, isn't he? He's only 34 still. Does that?
Yeah,
is
but
that
you've not.
Is that a factor for you?
If you were in constant fights and you were constantly challenging yourself and he's in the gym. I'm not saying he's not in the gym, but you know, these fighters are fighting year in, week in, week out. You know, it doesn't affect them. You know, age does catch up eventually. We do see it with some fighters that hold on a bit too long. But, you know, Conor McGregor's not really, since he won 2 titles, has been consistent in the sport, has he? And, you know.
Albert Barlow, Chris, this is obviously like UFC. I just want to pop it in quickly. Because it's UFC before we go back into boxing in a moment. I cut you off there and I apologise.
No, absolutely fine.
He basically said, do you think Patty has a chance to win the title? Patty.
Yeah. Patty and Thelma, would that be Molly and him? No, absolutely not. And I don't mean that.
I'm assuming Albert likes Paddy.
I think the Americans probably enjoy a foul-mouthed Brit that, you know, gets them on the toes, isn't he? You know, they all think we're like the same, or we have yellow teeth and we eat crumpets all flipping day long. No, we don't. I don't think he does. If you look at 155 Stewart and then you look at the top 10 and look at Paddy's last fight, can you honestly tell me that he's going to beat any of them in the top 10?
We said this earlier in the year, though, didn't we? We said once he gets into the nitty-gritty and he's climbing up, but yeah, it's hey, stranger things have happened, but it doesn't, from what we've seen so far from him. And I think he still maintains his first appearance was his best performance, wasn't it, at the Apex? He says that himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he was probably going in there with a lot of anxiety. You know, he had to show when he you know, he got brought into the UFC because he came with such a big clout.
Absolutely. I can't wait for 2023, Chris. You know, as you say, Leon Edwards will be defending the title here on our shores and just everything that's going to be happening leading up. John Jones, Chris, actually, before we move on to the boxing, what have you heard? Have you heard much in terms of John Jones?
Isn't it? If him and I believe that's next year, and I think it's a possibility, but you know, Ngannou still states that he wants to box, which you both know that doesn't work with UFC. They don't allow that. Conor was a one-off because that was a spectacle that had to happen.
Dana knew how much he could make out that one fight. You know, it was incredible, wasn't it? You look what both guys walked away with. You know what I mean? Nine figures for Conor. Against Mayweather. Well, you know, you can't. And what the build-up was brilliant.
The fight. The fight wasn't great, but yeah.
He verbally he roasted him anyway. So he won in that respect. He won, didn't he? You know, Mayweather could be roasted by many people. It's just the same old, isn't it? But
yeah, he still beats everyone though, doesn't he?
What a spectacle it was leading up to it. And you waited. Yeah. Remember Showtime? You're waiting for them to come on, right? They're going to come on at such and such a time. I'll be waiting. I'll have it ready early hours of the morning. But you waited for it, didn't you? And that's amazing.
They sold it perfectly, though, didn't they? They sold it, and I think he sold it so much that people actually thought he was going to be the one to put that one on Mayweather's record. It wasn't going to happen. I think most clear people's heads would think, I love Conor, but this isn't his sport. If this was MMA. Yes, Floyd would get absolutely obliterated. But in boxing, Mayweather is king.
I want to move on to a guy we had on Big Fight Weekly last year. He's had 3-1. I'm trying to think now. No, 2-1.
2-1 since we last had him on.
2-1 this year. And I just want to put a clip in, Chris. He was on my show, my other show, SWP, the other week. So he fought Saturday. But this clip was from a couple of weeks ago, prior to his fight with Nick Campbell, who was 5-0 before Saturday with 5 KOs. And it was on Sky Sports from Ben Shalom's Boxer. Boxer have done fantastic since coming on board with Sky Sports as well. But here we go. Here he is, Steve Drago 2.0 Robinson, building up to his fight with Nick Campbell a couple of weeks ago. Here we go.
The end of the fight, whether that be by knockout, whether that be by points. And we've seen Campbell's durable. We've seen he can take a shot. We've seen that he can give a shot. So, the training, the style of my style, everything's had to adapt and change because this whole hands down. And it's funny because both me and Nick only got into boxing off the back of another sport, off the back of becoming injured. So our stories are quite similar. And to be fair, we seem quite similar when it comes to just being ourselves, and we get people saying, "Oh, call this guy, I'll call that," and I think we're both very similar. We're both grounded, and we both just want the fight to go ahead. And I'm sure he thinks he win, and I think I'll win. And
fantastic, Chris. I am so made up for him. I was a bit worried. I really was. But Steve's been working hard. As you heard, he's been working on his defence as well. He's had a lot of criticism. He's had a lot of criticism on the socials. People haven't got a clue, as he says, Chris, as you said, when he was talking about Kansas Fosters the other week. But, he's a great champion of, beating bullies in terms of social media, which a lot of people can look up to. But, yeah, what a fantastic performance, man. He took some shots himself.
No, you got to you got to get in. You got to take those shots. Get better for it.
I was just made up for Steve, Chris, because it was a tough, probably his toughest fight today, and he's come through it with a 4th round stoppage. He's very game.
Gentle giant is Steve Robbo. Pleasure, obviously, meeting him last year on the show. Brilliant fighter. I think he's got a long career in boxing as Steve Robbo, and long may it continue. Like I say, he's a character, and enjoy his conversations you had with him last week were really good.
Thank you, every person who has messaged me, shared stories, etc. I will get through all 700 plus in the next few days. Just having a night off socials, that means the world to me. So again, thank you. And he's getting, his confidence is there. When he's talking to the media and stuff, he talks so well. And what a platform Boxer is going to be for him. He boxed on Wasserman as well. He was on Channel 5, his previous fight, which he's had a couple of good wins now, man. I think he's back. And they've worked on stuff in the gym where he was going wrong, but he knows himself where he's gone wrong, Chris.
But that's a person who's not deluded and understands that, he had when he did lose a few fights ago, they had stuff to work on, and he's gone away and he's worked on it, and you can see it clearly in the fight just gone on the weekend that he's worked on it, and he put in a fantastic performance against you say a guy who's been knocked out 5 people in 5 fights,
all 5. What respect shown from both guys, because they both come in from other sports. He said we didn't get into it, the nitty gritty. There's no shit talking. Some fighters don't do it. It was nice to see. He pulled his pants down on the way in as well. That was quite funny. He pulled Mick Campbell's cax down. So yeah, it was very light-hearted the day before, which it's quite refreshing to see that,
Well, we don't see that often, do you, really, to be honest with you? But no, he's a big character, Steve Robinson, and good luck in the future, and I'll be watching.
I want to go to one of his fights, hopefully. I've never been to the boxing. I've never been. I've been to UFC, but I've never been to the boxing. Strangely,
it's time to change that in 2023, then, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hey, Chris, I've got a good piece here. Actually, I just need to drag it. Here we go. Dimitri Bivol, who we've talked about last year at length, obviously beat Canelo this year. Canelo went up so light heavy. What a performance! What a performance from Dimitri Bivol, and he's hopefully going to unify the titles very, very soon as well. So yeah, just wanted to give him a special mention, Chris, because I think he's going to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, no, I agree. Beat Canelo, and that's a big check on your career, isn't it? Really, and you go for who he's fought, and Canelo there, and he beat him, so it's a big check.
Beterbiev is waiting, Chris. He's to unify, so that's going to be. I cannot wait for that. Fight. That's going to be very good. But he looked fantastic. Canelo, a lot of people said Canelo had a chance to do it, but he boxed so well. He's fought again. He fought Ramirez recently. Obviously, a lesser skilled fighter than Canelo, of course, but can't take it away. Can't take it away from Canelo, can you, Chris?
No. Canelo can drop back down and just do it and beat everybody there. It was just one of those nights, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Bivol has got the making of. Is it the making of him? I think that's the right word of putting it. Maybe has got the making of him, and maybe if they fought again, Bivol does beat him again. So sometimes when you meet that one person, and I think everybody's got that sort of fighter where they just seem to get the better of them every time, no matter how good you are.
Absolutely. And another guy that I'm really looking forward to domestically at super lightweight is coming on great guns, Chris. It is young Adam Azim, who is being highly touted. Another guy under the Boxer umbrella. I tell you what, Boxer have done so well this year. Matchroom obviously left, didn't they? The Zone. more so last year, didn't they? I know AJ's fight with Usyk, the first one, they had to do it contractually on Sky. Fantastic for boxer, but this guy, Chris, I've never seen hand speed like it from a young guy, 20 years old. A lot of people are saying they're reminding him of Amir Khan when he first came through into the pro ranks. So, yeah, Ben Shalom's hot on him. I cannot wait to see. But he's also got devastating power as well, as much as he's got the speed. He's stopping people, Chris. And he's
as long as he hasn't got the chin of Amir Khan, though, mate. Is that something you don't want?
No.
Listen, I'm all for people coming up and blowing certain fighters away, you know, and announcing themselves on the platforms or the sport per se. You know, and I know you know your boxing really, really well comparison to me, which is very minimal. So if you're saying this guy is going to be a big deal in years to come, I believe you.
Super lightweight. You know, he's 5'11", Chris, at that weight. But he's fast. The kid's fast, and it's mad. You look at him and think 20 years old. The sky's the limit. He's, you know, you were saying about your one to watch, the guy you think is going to be Arnold Allen. Obviously, he's going to go from strength to strength again. He's had a fantastic 2022. This guy, I think once he gets into like European Commonwealth area, I do believe he's going to be a world champion at some point, maybe into 2024. He could very well be a world champion, this lad.
Well, listen, Stuart, he's 20 years old. There's much time for him to develop and make his way, you know, towards title shots. But, you know, let's not rush the guy. Let's have him have his minutes, make sure he learns and gets his experience before he gets into these bigger fights.
Absolutely. Have you got anything to add before we close out in the moment? Just anything else that stood out this year? And anything funny maybe that you've seen? I know so much has happened and it's a year's worth that you've got to try and...
I think you got to look back at the two UK cards this year and really give everyone a round of applause. Every fighter, to all the fans that went and blew the roof off. And you know what I mean? It's strange how it's taken so long after so many events in the UK for people to really stand up and actually pay attention to the fighters that are coming through from the UK. I'm excited for a lot of them. You know, unlucky for Tom Aspinall. I think hopefully that injury he's had, it doesn't fault him going forward. I've got a lot of hope for Tom Aspinall, especially in that heavyweight division, because it's just one of them where you don't know where it's going at the moment. You know, the London cards were brilliant. I got to also special mention Anthony Rumble Johnson as well, Stuart.
Very sad, man. What a sad piece of news, man. He was beloved by, you know, as much as he was a predator in the cage.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
An absolute savage. What a chilled out man he was for guys. You know, Cormier released some nice stuff, didn't he? Everyone loved Rumble Johnson, didn't they?
Yeah, he was a scary man. Even at know, welterweight. I don't understand how he ever made a welterweight back in the day. Stuart. No idea. But you know, when he came back and he was at 205, he was just some beast that just had to touch you once with one bit of a knuckle and you go to sleep. He was, you know, the most gentlest guy when you listen to him and speak. But when he set foot in that cage, you can imagine every fighter's arse is fucking going like the clappers because he only had to hit you once. Yes, okay, he lost to Daniel Cormier twice, but Daniel Cormier, don't forget, is an elite fighter. And, you know, you have to somehow raise the bar past an elite fighter to win those sort of fights. But there's nothing you can really say, oh, well, you know, he went and fought in Bellator. He was going to face Nemkov Stewart in the semi-final, but obviously, you know, medical circumstances, which obviously led to his death. It's just a shame. And, you know, he's not that much older than us, Stewart, and had much more to accomplish.
That's the crazy thing, isn't it? 38 years old, man.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
R.I.P. to Anthony Rumble Johnson, to his family, to his close friends as well. That's a big, big void that's been left by him.
I agree. But on this note, Stuart, I feel like it's time to close the door on Big Fight Weekly. As much as it's been a roller coaster and a very enjoyable roller coaster, I sat on this for since June, since I did my last interview with James Elworth, and he was Joe Elworth, sorry, and he was really, really good. Fought in BKFC, I think in August after that, and he lost, but very good. The reasons to why it stopped. I don't think I need to mention the person's name.
Hey, Chris, we don't need to put anything. We're not. We could throw shade on the person, but we don't need to.
I'm not throwing shade.
No, he got sussed out, and I'm glad he did, because it still would have been going weekly, wouldn't it?
I think so. There was just it wasn't worth the hassle.
No.
But that's just a little blip in the Big Fight Weekly story.
Yeah.
Besides that, Stuart, I've had so much fun. I gotta thank you, thank Rich, thank John, and everybody that's been on the show. Having having Ken Shamrock on, Matt Hughes, speaking to those sort of people I'd never thought in my life I'd be sitting across them, doing what you did with Ken Shamrock the other week. It blows your mind. Didn't get into doing this. It was just me and you, shooting shit and having a laugh and just saying how we felt. To actually sit in front of someone who you idolize for all those years and have a conversation. It's amazing. Liam McGeary come on twice, absolutely brilliant. He was always giving his time to us. Miranda Maverick came on, still active in UFC. He's got a massive career to go. Lexi Walton, who's a young Welsh fighter that I got truly hopes for that, can break it in a few years' time. I'm probably going to forget some names we've had, but it's been an emotional one because I'd have sat on this for quite a while. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and do I come back, and can I come back? Do I have a heart for it anymore? And I haven't, and I just want to sort of do this last one with you and go back to how we used to do it and feel the fun and the respect that me and you have for each other and how we can bounce off each other, and that can't be replaced. You can't just get another co-host, Stuart. They're not good enough. The show, no one else, and that will long live for me, and I'm happy to end it there.
We were charting in sports charts, not in because there isn't an MMA chart, is there? Do you know what I mean? A lot of the MMA go into the pro wrestling chart because obviously there's wrestling within it, isn't there? And we were hitting the charts, and we were in there for a considerable time in audio form because it is hard visually and doing it on YouTube. It's hard to get the numbers, but we made some huge strides in audio form because we were charting and we were charting for a considerable amount of time as well. We held our place in mainstream charts.
I did. I got to number one twice in the good podcast against over hundreds of sports news. You know what I mean? Whether that's a good thing, best thing, that for me was fantastic. I felt like, I accomplished something there that, people actually got me to number one, and not to do it once, but to do it twice. I felt so overwhelmed and so chuffed and pleased that, something I never did this show to be, I need to be in this, I need to do this. It was just about me and you and enjoying ourselves and having time for each other and spending time with each other. Yeah, okay. Most people would say, why can't you do it together? In real life, not over a bloody camera. But, I've accomplished stuff that I don't think I ever thought I'd ever do, Stuart. And I think...
No, I'm glad you've got all this out of it, mate. The way you break down the fights, I said this all along. This is why we started it. Because I was like, this is perfect for Chris. He's got a platform. He can put his opinion across. And your knowledge and the fighters, and so many fighters within. It's hard, man, because they're all different styles within the cage, aren't they? It's knowing what they do. It is, but it's like encyclopedic, I would say, with you.
I appreciate that.
like all your Britannica books in Park Road.
Oh God, in Park Road. Right, Jesus Christ.
Visually, that's your UFC knowledge in book form on a bookshelf.
Well, I don't think it was that thick, but listen, it was a good run. We've done some outstanding things, and like I said, who we've spoken to is me and you, and the fights we've covered, because we've covered some really, really outstanding fights to some really poor fights at the same time. Yeah. I've loved every minute of it, and and for me to actually close the door on Big Fight Weekly and do it with you is brilliant. And I haven't, if I'd left it as it was, that would have lingered. And I think for so long for me, And you've given me this opportunity to come on today and
go
back and reminisce on everything and talk how we used to and how we used to sort of just chat shit. And some people might agree, some people might disagree. It's just one of them. And I'm happy I've done it. And this probably is the end for me in podcast terms. But I probably will pop around and be on other shows.
Never say never, mate. Never say never, because I can do some bits with SWP. I can bring you in and we'll cover some stuff when the big fights are coming on. You know what I mean? It won't be all the time, but I think when it's a big fight, you just say, right, we need to cover this. So it's been great, mate. It's been great. I've really, really enjoyed it. And all listeners and viewers are probably wondering, where the show was, weren't they? We've had a good core group of viewers and listeners, haven't we?
Yeah, we did.
They've really enjoyed it, and we've enjoyed them. It added give us layers, didn't it? Getting their views on stuff.
Interesting comments over the years, Stuart, Jake Paul in particular. But yeah, I've loved it, and it's nice to close it off, and all the videos are still there, and people can go back and watch whatever they want to watch, Stuart, and I think I'm proud and I'm happy with the end of Big Fight Weekly, and I don't now look at it as it lingers and what ifs. I think it's nice now that the book is closed and we did it together and we finished it together, and I think that's how it should have been.
Absolutely. Well put. And yeah, it was great. It's been great. It's been good to come back. Obviously, we're leading into Christmas now. So it's nice. It was a nice way it's a good time of year. Good time of year to do the last episode, I think. Yeah,
I totally agree. And we obviously we had a break at this time last year, didn't we? I think we lost a bit of momentum, and I think my mistake was pulling that one. But hey ho, it is what it is. But more the best for your podcast, and you keep fucking pulling up the stops like you're doing, and you keep growing and growing, and I'll be watching from afar, and you'll find me on stuff. I'll probably be on Art Party with Albert, and I'll be drinking beer and chatting rubbish with my American friends over there. And once in a while, you might find me on an Everton podcast. You just might.
Yes, the Unholy Trinity. I'm one of the guys from the Unholy Trinity. He writes for BBC, doesn't he? He does columns for BBC, which is amazing. It just goes to show, doesn't it, that what can come of things. And there's a lot of shitty people within podcasting, but there's some there. You can find decent guys that want others to do well. Do you know what I mean? It's like anything, isn't it, Chris? It's not just podcasting. Some people do not want to see people doing well, but then on the flip side, we found a lot of people that supportive and want you to do well, and they haven't got ego, and that's part and parcel of life, isn't it? It's not just in podcasting. You've got to sort of meet these people and figure them out yourself. And I had to figure them out myself. And you know what? I'm glad I did. And I you could just speak to my other half, and she'll tell you everything you need to know. But yeah, I don't even want to speak about them at the end of the day. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I've just, I've met people I respect, and I met people who are true to me and have always been nice to me and respectful to me and helped me push on, not pretend to push me on and use me as a platform. We never did that as a pair, and we looked after each other. We backed each other, and we spoke about how we felt. And I had to go through that shit after you left to realize a lot of things.
It was like you say, it's just the person is irrelevant and childish when it's someone senior to us. That was what we took away from that. And you can say you've got this, that, the other wrong with you, but it doesn't mean you have to be like that. But like you say, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
No, it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant, and they're irrelevant to me.
Absolutely.
I'm happy that chapter and this chapter's closed. As you say never. We'll see what happens in the future. But at this point now, I'm happy to say goodbye to Big Fight Weekly. Thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Just thank you again to the listeners, to the viewers. Or just to extend off what Chris was saying, it's been brilliant. I've loved it today. A bit later than we anticipated. initially. But yeah, things are happening. Things are happening. But I think a nice way to send us off on our ship on our final voyage across. I don't know what river I was going to say. Yeah, I don't know.
Titanic one, please.
We'll go transatlantic because obviously we
away from the icebergs.
We love USA for the combat sports. But yeah, thank you so much, Chris. So well put there as well. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing it with me. And as you say, it's our
thank you.
The last hurrah. The last hurrah, as they call it, as they coin it. And this has been Big Fight Weekly, the final episode. I'm sure we'll see Chris pop up on SWP when I do some combat sports specials next year for the big fights. But thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, mate.
It's been great. I've loved it today.
Yes.
It's been great.
Thank you very much, mate.
Like the old days. Take care, everyone. Have a great Christmas.
See you soon.